So today I've been working on getting these garden beds ready. What I did is I desodded in between the bushes. So you can see this is that line of blueberries that I planted, and in between each one has been desodded and around the fronts of the bushes, and that way I can plant some perennials in between there. Probably a lot of strawberries, I would guess. I've got a lot of strawberries coming in and some seeds that I'm starting. So that's probably the plan there. And that currently has just been desodded. The soil's pretty good. I added a little bit of compost. You can see just that little bit of darker matter in there, and that's compost. And then here at the end, I have started adding some of the soil and mushroom compost mix. As you can tell, the pile I have here is not nearly as big as it once was. There's not too much here, but I have been able to start on this bigger berry section and layer a good bit of that soil down. And what I'll do is I'll go through with my broad fork and kind of mix up and till up a little bit the soil to get it all mixed in there and get the soil broken up for the plants so they can spread their roots very easily and get that compost and mushroom compost and new soil and old soil, all of that mixed together. The other thing I did is I went around the edge of where I desodded, and this is going to be the edge of this kind of garden area, and I layered newspaper down, and on top of the newspaper I've put various sizes of logs and sticks that I had as a border. The idea here is that the newspaper will keep out a lot of the weeds and the grasses. Luckily, that's not as big of a problem here because there is a decent bit of shade from this tree and that pine. So the grass doesn't grow quite as vigorously as in other areas, but there is still plenty. So as you can tell in the areas that I have not mown yet, there are some tall sections of grass and it does grow. So what I did is I lined this, and that way I can run my weed eater along the edge, and then I can minimize the amount of weeds that I have to manage and control. So that's the goal there. The other thing that I did is as I desodded a lot of this, I stacked up the soil on this opposite side. So this is the downward section of the slope, and if you can tell, it's kind of mounded up, and I've put the newspaper and the logs on the inside of the mound. The idea here is that it kind of makes a little berm, almost like a kind of the philosophy of a berm or a swale, where I have the water get slowed down as it comes down. So as it rains and water flows this way, it'll kind of hit this wall here and at least slow down, sit, soak in a little more before continuing on. And that should be good for keeping the plants nice and watered, the soil moist, all those types of things. So having that slight mound around here, it ends right here, because once you get up here, it naturally will slope down this direction, and then right here is when it would normally start to taper down, but this should kind of slow that down, control the water flow a little more, which should be good. That's the other reason why I made sure I desodded around the fronts of each one of these blueberries. I'm not going to, likely at least, plant strawberries or anything else right in front of this berry bush, but if I desod that and add a little bit of compost and some of the good soil and have that as a little bit of a low spot, then the water can kind of sink down in there, and that'll be good as well. Probably not going to make a huge difference or anything, but still will be a good thing. So that's the plan for here, and that's where I'm at. I'm stopping for the day now. Tomorrow I should be able to run the rest of the soil, do the broad fork, and get all of this area prepped. The other thing I am planning on doing is dealing with all these wood chips and all that leaf mulch. So the plan is to, once I get everything soiled and broad forked and everything prepped and ready, then what I'll do is I'll plant what I need to plant, and everywhere that's not planted, probably mainly along the edges this year is probably about it. I'll probably plant all through here. Probably some annuals in areas that long term I don't want anything, and then perennials in the places that long term I do. And the rough plan for that is that as I start at the beginning here, in between each bush, I will plant some perennials. So in between these two, there'll be perennials. In between these two, perennials. In between these two, perennials and perennials, and you can see how it zigzags. It'll zigzag on down the line. Some areas might be a little different, like here I've got kind of 4 plants in a row, so I'm not really gonna get a zigzag going on there, but the rough plan is to do the zigzag pattern. That way, as I pick, this middle triangle will be open, and I can walk in here and pick from this bush, and then to each side will be my perennials. Perennials there and perennials there. And then as I come back out of this, I'll have this be perennials, so I can't really step in between here. But as I walk around to this side, I will have this triangle free and open. So I can step in here and pick every section of these bushes and get to everything pretty easily, while still being able to plant perennials and plant a lot more edible things in between here and get a lot more use out of the space. So that's roughly my plan. I will continue to make videos as I go and keep you updated with everything I'm doing. The other area I wanted to show was where I've planted a lot more seedlings. So I got another order of seedlings in, and I pretty much have the majority of what I'm going to have. I planted that giant load that I got before. You can possibly see this is a small seedling here, as is this. Those are both chokeberries, smaller bushes, relatively smaller at least. And then there's another one there. And then I start doing some more, I think, service berries and some other things. I planted like 3 here. There's some in between these 2 evergreens, which will get very big. And then I've got I think, service berry there and one here. And I kind of just continued that theme all the way down here. There's a mix of the bigger ones in the back, like mulberries and things like that. And then more near the front, I've got nanny berries, service berries in front of those staggered, and then the chokeberries in the very front. So depending on the area, that's kind of the plan. Like back here, I've got a mulberry in the back corner, and then I've got a pawpaw, and a pawpaw right over there. And so those are still decent size, and I have room if I want to plant some bushes, but I ran out of the chokeberries. I do have some high bush cranberries coming in, and I'll probably plant those in front of some of these others as well in areas that I didn't do the chokeberries. So there's another seedling. Here's another one here. I think that might have been a service berry or a pawpaw. And then I've got 2 chokeberries on either side, if I remember right. A lot of this I really don't know because they got kind of jumbled up, and to be honest, it really didn't matter. So I basically sorted them by size and planted away for most of the sections. So I may not know exactly what is where, but we'll see as it comes up. It'll be fun. So this is the gate, a little pallet gate that I made the other day. I had mentioned that I built a fence the other day, made that gate. The other thing I wanted to show was back here. I did get in my 2 new garden beds. So there's one, turned out decently, and here's the other one. So now we've got 4 garden beds back here. Currently there are potatoes in the first one. There are some herbs right here. And then I am really not sure what these are. It says chamomile, marshmallow. So probably more medicinals and herbs will continue on in here. I think the plan is to do sweet potatoes in here, a bunch of okra in here, with some other things on the ends. My wife's talking about doing some poles with some pole beans. So that's kind of the idea over on that side. And I'm not sure if I showed over on this side before or not, but I did get this area finished, and I also put in 2 of the little service berries. There's one right there on the other side of the fence, you probably can't see, and then another one that's right here that you also probably can't see, but there's 2 little service berries there. Here, I'll show you. There you go. and those will get to a decent height, but nothing major. It shouldn't overhang much over our house or anything, or be touching our screen porch. I can trim it if I need to, but that's what I've got going on there. And I think that's about everything. So I will get back to you in the next stage. Also, I didn't mention this. I moved that little evergreen tree right behind that strange statue. He's probably going to go as well. He used to be over there by that little trampoline and kind of was out of place. So he's now here in a big empty spot and works really well. So now I will go and talk to you next time.